And here we have it, ladies and gentlemen, the last fantasy football recap of the 24-25 season, and it's Super Bowl week. So last week we took a break off, so look, both the Andy Dalton fan club and the Gouldy 12 League would finish so I could cover the finals in one video together. So let's go ahead and get straight into it and reveal who won in the Andy Dalton fan club and in the Gouldy 12 League. So first up, we have the week 1 of 2 matchup of the 9th-10th playoff, which is between Anchor and Tom. The winner obviously finishing 9th overall, the loser finishing 10th overall, hence it being a 9th place playoff. And here you can see Anchor lost the first week. She lost by 3 points. She lost 111 to 108. Let's go have a look at who scored what. Josh Allen, 26 points in that massive win over the Jets. Jahmyr Gibbs, 30 points against San Francisco. Gorado only managed about 13 points against Detroit. Calvin Ridley with 10. Marcus Valdes-Scantling with a big old goose egg. Brock Bowers 8.9. Breece Hall 8 points. Boswell only managed 4 points in that loss to KC. And the Titans defense managed 9 points. On the flip side, Kyler Murray, 22 points. Derrick Henry, 31. Nothing from McCaffrey. 12 from Amari Cooper. 35 from Malik Nabers in that Indianapolis Giants shootout that cost the Giants the number 1 overall pick. 170 and 2 receiving touchdowns. What a stud he is. And Ferguson losing in points. ETN, 11 points. Aubrey, 1 point. And the 49ers defense losing him points. So actually, if he'd have just played a running back, as he got here as an option, he actually doesn't. Zeke would have got him 0.95. That would have been an extra point. Ferguson, he had to play, so he's still losing points there, and defense he had to play. But he could have had an extra 9 points at quarterback and an extra 2 points at flex if he absolutely been maxed it. Very, very funny though. Anchor loses. I don't think there was really anything else she could have done. She could have had an extra 12 points at wide receiver and an extra 12 points at kicker. But taking Boswell out is insanity with how good a year he's had. Laporta also would have been an upgrade, but again, taking Bowers out when he's broken all the records as a rookie tight end would be insane behaviour. So that is week 1. So going into the second week, Anchor was down by 3 points. But as we can see here, Anchor managed to overturn that 3-point deficit after week 1 to win by 7 points overall. It's probably a bit closer than she would have liked, but a win nonetheless. Let's have a look at exactly what happened here. Josh Allen came out for the ceremonial first snap in which he handed it off to James Cook and then left the game to make sure he was fit and healthy for the playoffs, meaning Josh Allen scored her 0 points. Jahmyr Gibbs, insane game. Oh my goodness. 139 rushing yards, 3 rushing touchdowns, 31 receiving yards and 1 receiving touchdown against Minnesota to lock up the 1 seed. 49.5 points. Oh my god. Gorado got injured after 2 carries in which he got 5 yards in the 49ers blowout loss to Arizona. Ridley managed 8 points. Valdes-Scantling managed 3. Brock Bowers 11. Breece Hall 18. Boswell 8. And the Titans defense managed 15. So overall pretty good. Obviously a big miss at quarterback, but with Jahmyr Gibbs putting up their numbers, it kind of balanced out enough. Would have had a lot more points had she played the Texans defense. Downs, Sutton. Were Downs and Sutton both upgrades? Yeah, Downs and Sutton were both upgrades. Dicker the kicker would have got a point. She could have been looking at about 125-ish, I think, had she played her optimal lineup. Let's have a look about over here. Kyler Murray, 32 points, really good. Derrick Henry, 40 points, phenomenal. No McCaffrey, no Cooper, cost him the game. Malik Nabers, 15 points. Ferguson, 1.5. ETN, 9. Aubrey, 13. 49ers defense cost him 6 points. I mean, even if you give them 6 points back, he's basically won the game. But if he'd have played Herbert over Murray and played the right and just not played the defense, he would have won the game. That's how close it was. But Anchor does win, so she finishes a underwhelming season in a big old 9th place, with Tom finishing dead last. You hate to see it. Let's move on to the 8th place playoff game. And here is the week 1 of the 8th playoff game. So, interestingly, despite Ryan only winning 1 regular season game, he managed to win a consolation bracket game, which got him into the 7th, the 7th playoff spot, sorry. meaning the winner of this game would finish 7th overall. And after week 1, Ryan has a decent lead, 22 points here. He's got to be pretty happy with. Let's see exactly what happened. Obviously, none of these people are checking. It's just whatever they set their lineup to and forgot about it. And you can see pretty quickly here, no running back room for Fraser is what cost him. Love managed 15, which was nowhere near Mahomes. But even this measly 8 points from his running back room is eclipsing this. 25 points at wide receiver. Oh my God, Devonta Smith with 25 points as well. These 4 here are the big difference maker, aren't they? 25, 50, 63 to 18, 22, 33. Big old change. And then the Bills defense, again in that 14-40 dominant win over the Jets, did pretty well. Although the Chargers weren't bad. And Hopkins loses out to Gabe. Yeah, a 22-point lead. Is that right? Yeah, 22-point lead after the first week is not to be sniffed at. He also had more points on the bench with Ladd McConkey and Brown. Ladd McConkey could have come in for Wilson for an extra 14 points. And who was it? Brown could have come in for an extra 12 points over Connor. So, all things considered, you'd argue that Fraser's actually pretty lucky to only be 20 points down. Let's go ahead and have a look at the second week of their matchup. And despite that 20-point lead, Fraser managed to break 100 compared to Ryan's 54 in the last week of the season, which absolutely flipped the script. Let's see exactly what happened here. Jordan Love got hurt, didn't really play. Connor was hurt, didn't play. Achane, great game, 22 points. Wilson didn't have a great game. Puka Nacua didn't play because they'd already locked up their seeding, I believe. Mark Andrews, 12 points, not bad. Smith didn't play because they'd already locked up their seeding. Hopkins managed 3 points, Bills managed 6 points. That's just not a lot. I mean, he's missing 1, 2, 3 players, and the other guys just didn't do too much. What about Fraser, though? Also missing 3 players, 1 being quarterback and 2 being running backs. Granted, 1 was due to the seed already being locked up, and the other 2 were due to injury. But here's where it gets interesting. Nico Collins, 11 points. Drake London in that very close loss to the Panthers. Great day for Michael Penix Jr. 187 yards and 2 touchdowns gives him 33 points. Freiermuth managed 15 in their loss to Cincinnati. Swift managed 17 in Chicago's win over Green Bay. Matt Gay kicked for 16 points, and the Chargers defense managed 7 points. It's just 100 points. So the totals end up being about a 35-point win for Fraser, giving him the 7th place in the overall. We're starting to get closer to like positions people might not be too upset to have finished in. Ryan would be amazed that despite winning only 1 regular season game, he even managed to not come dead last. So there is that. Let's move on to the 5th place playoff game. Here we have the 5th place playoff game, and it actually feels a little bit rude that this is Scott and James, Scott and Skip, because they've both had great years, and I was worried I'd be playing them in the final potentially. So it's kind of crazy that they've ended up battling out for 5th place. But as we can see here, Scott's team once again not disappointing. I believe he's been the highest scoring team in the league this year. 160 points, Skip only managing 98, definitely put Scott in pole position after week 1. And let's see how that happened exactly. Stafford only managed 13 points. Taylor, huge week, 36. Williams managed 17. Evans, 23 on his quest for 1,000 yards. Shamar Chase managed 12.5. Kittle managed 13. McMillan, 19. Lutz, 6. The Rams, 21. Eagles defense managed 13. Tucker managed 10. I mean, I think the big difference maker here are Mike Evans compared to McLaurin, Shakir compared to Chase, Jacobs and Tracy compared to Taylor and Williams, and then even Stroud gives up 8 points to Stafford, which they just can't really make up. I mean, they lose at every position other than defense, kicker, and tight end, and all of them they barely win. Whereas when they lose, they're losing by 20 points at each position. Really, really rough. Could they have done better? Scott didn't have anything else he could give, really. Williams could have played for an extra 20 points, and Najee Harris could have played for an extra 11. So that had got him 20 points there, 4 points there, an extra 24 points. Is about the best he could have done, which wouldn't have really got him close, would it? It would have left him An extra 24 points would put him still 40 points behind after the first week. Let's go ahead and have a look at the second week to see if Skip managed another miraculous turnaround, because everyone else who won week 1 ended up losing overall. Unfortunately for Skip, he is the one who breaks that pattern, as Scott puts up another impressive 140 plus points and Skip falls to 70. As I'm sure you can notice, there's a bit of a trend with the second week scores being a bit lower. That is because of people obviously getting rested. And down at this point, I'm not sure how many people check their teams. Michael Penix Jr., well, Scott definitely checked his team if he put Michael Penix Jr. in. 29 points. Jonathan Taylor managing 35 points. Coram, 3 points, not great. Although, it shows he checked his team, he put in the backup running back. Evans managed 10 and did manage to get the 85 yards he needed to cross 1,000 for his 11th consecutive season. 17 points for Chase in the win that ended up not mattering. Schultz, only 3 points. McMillan, 15. Denver, Will Lutz for Denver managed 8 points. Denver Broncos managed 22 points. Another great week. CJ Stroud, very poor. Josh Jacobs, not bad. Tracy, not bad. McLaurin, not bad. Shakir did nothing, they were resting. Kelsey did nothing, they were resting. Jordan Jennings, not great. Justin Tucker, not great. And the Eagles defense did okay, but nothing special. And in the end, Scott ends up scoring 303 on the total matchup compared to Skip's measly 166. 303 points in 2 weeks is devastating just to lock up 5th place. Let's go ahead and look at the 3rd place playoff game. And week 1 of the 3rd place playoff game was another close one. Only 4 points in it between Dad and James. Let's go ahead and look at who scored points. Lamar Jackson, 36 points. Very good. Dowdle and Irving managed 41. Pretty good. Adams had a pretty slow week. Only 5 points. Brian Thomas Jr., absolute stud, 18 points. Johnny Smith managed 9. Pollard didn't score anything for him. Maybe that comes back to haunt him. Elliott managed 10, which is pretty good. And the Bucs defense managed 21 points. Pretty good. But Burrows, 44 points. Mixon, another down game, 6 points. Aaron Jones manages 11. AJ Brown, 10. Amon-Ra St. Brown, 13. Hockenson, 7. Brian Robinson, 10. Bates, 10. And the Ravens defense, 24 points. You can see why it was so close. Could we have done any better? Brock Purdy wouldn't have been an upgrade. Adam Thielen would have netted him a fair few more points. And on the flip side, he could have had Zach Ertz for a considerable bump as well. That would have been an extra 13 points there and just an extra 26 flat for Dad in his flex, which would have put him in a much better position. But yeah, the 4-point lead going into the second week, let's see exactly what happened. And here we can see Dad manages to hold on to that lead as well, winning by 40 points in the second week, making it pretty comfortable. Let's see what went wrong. Lamar Jackson, pretty solid week. Joe Burrow, not quite as good. Dowdle and Irving, another 40-point week. Mixon, another down week. And Aaron Jones, another down week. James's running backs really ran out of steam, pardon the pun, at the back end of the season. Devontae Adams, a much better week. Brian Thomas regresses a little bit, but overall they do better compared to Amon-Ra St. Brown, getting a lot of yards, but no score in that crucial win over Minnesota. Smith and Jigba didn't get a lot of usage in that win over the Rams, which is kind of surprising. Jonnu Smith ended up being one of the better tight ends and more reliable tight ends this year. Another 10-point score. Hockenson only had 1.2 in that devastating loss to Minnesota. Thielen manages 5 points, whereas Bigsby manages 13. Elliott only scores 5. Bates scores 8. And the Buccaneers defense scored 9 points, whereas the Ravens managed 22. It's this top 5 here. 26, 20, 19, 15, 12. 12, which is Dad's lowest score in the top 5 here, would have been James's second highest score in the top 5. And then you get to the tight end and it continues. It's only in these bottom 3 James wins and it's just not by a big enough margin to overturn it. So overall, Dad ends up scoring 267 over the 2 weeks, whereas James manages only 226. He'll be disappointed they finished 3rd and 4th respectively after a good season. But let us get on to the Tanker Bowl, the Andy Dalton Fan Club Super Bowl Week 1. And could it be any closer after the first week? 142.99 plays 141.08. Incredible stuff. Let's see exactly what happened. So, Baker, insane performance. 359 passing yards, 5 passing touchdowns, 40 points to counteract Jaden Daniels, 38.88 in that win over Atlanta, where he also balled out. Cook manages 15 points, basically a season low for him as well. Bijan Robinson managed 26 to come up for 41 total points, whereas Barkley and White only managed 31. So again, a bit of a lead built up there. Sorry, 32. Bit of a lead built up there. Higgins, 30 points over Denver, which was huge. 131 receiving yards and 3 scores was exactly what I needed. Myers and Metcalf only managed 16, which isn't even half Higgins, so Jefferson's 10 points was a nice little supplementary addition. But this is where it starts to go wrong. Hunter Henry did nothing, whereas Trey McBride scored 21 points. Jerome Ford got injured and ended up being put on IR, only managed 4 points, whereas Worthy scored 16. Bass managed 8 points, whereas McLaughlin scored 11, and then a little bit came back to me where the Lions scored 7 points and the Packers only managed 4. But that is incredibly, incredibly close, and I didn't like it. Could either of us have done better, though? Yes, I'm sure we could have. I had Noah Gray, who would have given me a 0.75 improvement. I also could have played J.K. Dobbins over Ford for an extra 15 points. Or, even better, I could have played Dobbins over Cook for an extra 4 points, and then Marvin Harrison Jr. could have gone in at my flex for an extra 6 points, which would have netted me even more, I believe. Incredible, incredible stuff. I've got to be honest, I don't think I made any bad decisions here. J.K. Dobbins had just come back off IR, so I was a little bit sceptical. Marvin Harrison Jr. has been good this year, but he's been a bit up and down, and I didn't know how much work Gray was going to get, and he didn't get a lot in all fairness, it's just Hunter Henry got less. On the flip side, I don't think there was really anything Pash could have done. I think 21 points for the Seahawks defense was an improvement. So that would have given him a comfortable-ish lead. That would have given him a 17-point lead, which would have overturned. So he'd been about 15 points up going into the second week, which would have been a lot to deal with. But other than that, he did pretty damn well. Let's go and see what the second week brought us. And of course, with the benching of Saquon as well as other things, I was able to pull through 112 to 63 in the second week, meaning I won by about 50 points in the end. Oh boy, I am a two-time Andy Dalton Fan Club champion. I will be looking to go for the first ever Triple Crown next year. Let's see what happened in the second week though. There's not too much to break down. Jane Daniels got hurt very early, which put him on a bad spot. Rashad White did nothing in the Tampa Bay game, which hurt even more. Without Saquon Barkley, Zach Charbonnet only managed 12 points, not exactly Barkley numbers. Metcalf managed 11. Worthy didn't play or wasn't targeted. Gesicki, 8 points. Zach Asias for Washington as an emergency pickup by Pash to try and salvage something, only managed 5 points. McLaughlin managed another 11, which is pretty good, and the Packers defense managed 10, but it was not enough. Baker Mayfield, 26 points. J.K. Dobbins, 12 points. Bijan Robinson, a season-high 38.6. What a stud. Higgins and Jefferson tried to screw me, only managing a combined 11.5 points. Noah Gray with 0.1. James Cook with 11.3 and Tyler Bass with 4, with the Commanders defense managing 7.5. I should have run with the Lions defense in the end. I was worried about that because of how important a game that was, but they would have been absolutely fine. Also should have put Marvin Harrison Jr. in for some actual points. But that is where we are. I also picked up Foreman in place of Ford just in case, but I ended up not using him. Bo Nix, 42 points. Instead of that, would have been an extra 39 points, which would have made it uncomfortably close. I would have only won by about 10 points. Would have made it uncomfortably close. He could have had an extra 5 with McBride as well. But he did not have enough points to beat me. It would have been very, very close. He could have had an extra 39 plus an extra 5 is an extra 43. An extra 43 puts him on 247. I'd have won by 8 points. That is unbearably close. But he didn't. So I win. I mean, it wouldn't have won him the game regardless, but I am the winner. Thank you everyone for the Andy Dalton Fan Club. It's been a pleasure, and I look forward to trying my best to retain my crown next season. Now let's head over to the Gouldy 12 League. So, over in the Gouldy 12 League, the bottom 4 teams don't even get a sniff at any consolation game, so they finish in the order they finished in. It is only the top 8 that compete for positions. So we are starting off with the 7th place playoff between Tony and Cam, and as you can see, Tony stomped him. 52-point margin of victory. Let's have a look at exactly what happened. Baker Mayfield managed 35 points. Very good game. Lamar Jackson manages to negate a lot of that damage with a nice 29-point performance. Kenneth Walker was not available for didn't play. Rachaad White only managed 4 points, which just cannot handle or compete with Derrick Henry and Dowd managing 35 points near as damn it. All of a sudden, big swing in one direction. Then you get down to wide receiver. Jefferson was 17 and Puka Nacua with 22 is about 40 points. However, you've got 41 points on the other side. So again, that has not been overcome. Ferguson extends it a little bit over Komet. Smith extends it even further over London. Bates extends it even further over Fairbairn. And the Bills negate the Chiefs. At no position did Cam really have a chance. He technically won at quarterback, but that all gets wiped away, not in every other position on the board. He would have had to won by 70 points, nearest damn it, to create a situation there. Could he have done better, though? Oh my god, it doesn't actually really look like it. He could have had 9 points out of Tracy instead of nothing out of Walker. And that's it, I believe. Oh, he could have had 10 points at kicker. So he could have had an extra 19 points, which would put him on 128. Does nothing. On the flip side, phenomenal. There was still more points to be had here from Likely and maybe Jennings. Yeah, Jennings could have come in as well. But it changes nothing. Congratulations to Tony for managing to finish 7th place. Let's go ahead and have a look at the 5th place matchup. The 5th place matchup in this league was between myself and Luke. Luke, having ruined my playoff hopes in the last week of the regular season, I was looking for a little bit of revenge, and I managed to get it with a pretty comfortable 60-point win. I know Luke had a lot of playoffs, Super Bowls he was worried about, so I doubt he even checked his team. I did because I like to win. Joe Burrow, 37 points, huge. Taylor, 27, huge. Bijan Robinson, 24, huge. Nico Collins, 8.9, not huge. Brian Thomas, 24 points, huge. Hunter Henry didn't play. Smith and Jigba, 6 points. Will Lutz, 6 points. Lions defense, 5 points. Pretty solid top to bottom. On the flip side, Jared Goff, 25. Connor and Stevenson didn't even manage 3. Brown and Downs combined for 25. Bowers, 15 points. Metcalf, 7. Moody, 4. Texans defense, 2. Not really that close. I don't think either of us really left much on the bench. I could have had 11 extra with Freiermuth, and I could have had an extra 4 at flex. That's about it, though. Overall, it was an okay game. I won. I came 5th. It sucks. I wanted to win. It is what it is. We move on. Next year, we're going for both. I want to be the first 3-time champion of the Andy Dalton fan club, and I want to win my first championship in the Gooley 12 League next season. That is the plan. Let's go ahead and have a look at the 3rd place playoff game. This matchup was between Jude and Oscar, obviously our coach of the year. However, Oscar, as our most improved of the year, puts that over the coach of the year nomination apparently, and deals with Josh pretty handily. Again, not a particularly close game, about 30 points in it. Let's see exactly what happened. Josh Allen, 23 compared to Purdy's 30. Jones and Brown, 24 compared to Williams and Singletree 20. Ridley and Higgins combined for 54 compared to Hill and McLaurin's 21. Porter and Kittle negate each other. Guardo outscores Cup by 10. Bass outscores Gonzalez by 2. The Steelers defense lose out by 13 to the Dolphins defense. The damage was already done right around here in the wide receiver room. 20 compared to 54 just isn't going to cut it. No points left on the bench for Oscar. There was points left on the bench by Jude, however. 6 points if he'd played Ertz. 12 at running back. 12 at running back could have been used in either place for an extra 8. Could have played a better kicker. There was points to be had. Not enough to overturn the result, though, so it doesn't really matter. With that being said, let's get into the big one, the Super Bowl of the Gooley 12 League. Before we handle the final, I just want to say a big thanks to everyone who's got involved this year, watched the videos, commented, liked, subscribed, all that good stuff. I hope you stick around for the other gaming content through the off-season. I've enjoyed doing this bunch. I know some of the boys in the leagues have enjoyed watching it, so we will be doing this again next year. If you have any comments or suggestions about what you'd like to see changed or improved on for the next season, please let me know down below It's been a pleasure. Now, let's discuss the final game of the 2024-2025 fantasy football season. And here we have it. Mick is your Super Bowl champion. He matched it with George, who scored a very respectable 120 points pretty comfortably, managing a massive 167.98, winning by 47.5, 48 points in the Super Bowl is diabolical on a 1 week special. But let's see exactly how it happened. He goes out to an early lead with Daniels over Mahomes. It gives him about a 6-ish point cushion. And then he really cements that at running back. Mixon and Jacobs having bad week. I've got a feeling Mixon's downturn over the course of the season has caused a lot of people who started very high to come crushing down and probably ruined a lot of seasons. And then on the flip side, Bucky Irving, who won the draft, the pickup of the year, his uptick, there's probably a direct correlation between players like that. But anyway, at running back, the 6-point lead for Mick is extended when 11, 6, 17 points of his running backs just cannot compete with the nearly 50 points over here. He does creep a bit back here with Evans and Chase managing 50 points. That is to an extent offset by the wide receivers, and there's still enough in the piggy bank from up here to cover the rest. Jonnu Smith, another 7 points in his favour. Wilson, another 8 points in his favour. He loses out a bit to McLaughlin, but then the defences bring it home with an extra 13 points in his favour. You can see how this adds up. The really interesting thing is, could either of them have done anything differently? So Harrison had 15 points, which wouldn't have been enough up here, but he could have got himself in a flex position for an extra 6. Big problem is he had no other running backs to bring in. He had Kraft, who has 7 points, which would have been a small upgrade, but there isn't enough extra points here to win the game. So Mick had won the game no matter what lineup he put out. In the end, it doesn't really matter. But could Mick have won by more? He has 25 points for Pittman here, which could have come in for Adams for an extra 16 points, which is incredible. You also had Travis Kelce, who managed 22 points, which could have been another 11. So you could have had another 27. Is that everything? Yeah, he could have had an extra 27 points here, which would have put him on 194, which would have been a diabolical score. But regardless, Mick has managed to win the championship. He is the winner this year. What an absolute Chad. Congratulations to him. And thank you so much for watching. That has been it for this season of fantasy football, and I hope to see you again next year.